Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to today's Kyle Seraphin Show. It is Wednesday, and it is October the 8th. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to present to you an analogy. I'm going to give you a visual representation how I know we're not in a good spot. And I don't like being a doomsayer. I really don't. What I don't like is thinking that we had a solution, that we had people that were going to go handle the business. I did an entire podcast entitled Unserious People with a Serious Problem. Imagine the following. Let's not make it about you. Let's make it about your neighbor. It's easier to see it from the outside. Imagine your neighbor has been complaining to you for weeks, maybe months, about a bug infestation. That there are bugs in every crevice of their house. There are roaches, there are spiders, there are scorpions. Take your pick. Whatever's nasty and ugly, creepy crawlies, all about. So your neighbor calls an exterminator. Your neighbor can't afford the exterminator, so you agree to pay for it. Neighbor calls the exterminator. Exterminator goes in. Real tough sounding. John Goodman style from Arachnophobia. And does his spraying, says, you're going to want to stay out of here for a couple of minutes. And then this John Goodman character comes rolling out of the front of the steps of the house and says, we got him. We got them all. You are not going to have any problems. None at all. And your neighbor is so thankful to not have these creepy crawlies, these bugs rolling around inside the house. And as this John Goodman character is letting you know it's all good, solve the problem, this is a re-inhabitable space. Like 5 or 6 creepy crawly bugs, big centipede, some monstrous looking sketchy spider, a lot of shiny, legs and whatnot. Comes creeping out behind him through the back door, through the door onto the porch. And he just steps on it real quick. He just kind of goes like, and he squishes that. Yeah, we got them all. And then another 1 or 2 creep out, snap, snap, squishes them with a big boot. Nothing to worry about. How likely are you to go up there and help out your neighbor and pay the bill? How likely are you to do that? That is what happened in the last couple days. That is what is going to happen for all of you who are going to be looking for prognostications. I don't do a ton of predictions, but what I can tell you is that we are going to see a full funding of all the entities in our government. We're going to see it 100%. That's what they do. They complain, they cry, they say, I'm the victim. This government came after me. Can you believe it? It's not right. And then they whip out their checkbook and they sign off on the check and they pay for a job not well done, not cleaned up, not fixed. Let me make that real simple. We are going to see a group of U.S. senators who are crying about the United States government's investigative branch, the most dangerous sort of teeth inside the DOJ, the FBI, investigated U.S. senators and 1 congressman from the GOP. And they have been all over the news, and I'm going to play you clips of it. We're going to actually dig into it. It's even worse than I actually thought it was yesterday, and I don't say that lightly. And then after all of this crying, and after all this hand-wringing, and after John Kennedy from Louisiana says, I think there should be some criminal charges. I think there should be a conspiracy charge. I think we should do all this stuff. They're going to turn right around. They're going to whip out the checkbook, and they're going to fund all of these agencies. The FBI and the DOJ are going to get their funding, and nothing's going to change. Because the only way that you can actually reason with a person who didn't do a decent job at the job that you were paying them to do is to say, get back in there and kill all those bugs so that nothing comes creeping out while you're telling me what a great job you did. And they're not going to do that because they are not interested. And this goes to Milton Friedman's point initially, talking about the types of money that you can spend, and the least discriminating spending of money is other people's money spent on not you. And that is what our government does on a regular basis. They take our cash, they ingest it inefficiently, and then they spend it also inefficiently because it's not on them. And that's what we're going to see. So I'm going to make that prediction to you right now, that when they do fund the government, the FBI will get its paycheck, and all the people that are doing this work, it won't matter. All of this is theatrical and show. 100%. No question in my mind. Let's do a commercial real quick for my friends at Patriot Cooler. I don't hate them. I actually just ordered new lids for my the 19-ounce coffee mug, I think. 19-ounce coffee mug. This is, or if you're going out and doing hunting or whatever else, camping, things like that. Check out their stuff. If you guys are in the market, this is the company to go to. They're great people. They've backed us up 100%. I just got new water bottles for my daughters. Both my older girls just got some of their stuff, and they're psyched about it, staying hydrated, whatnot. They had plastic, and now they're growing up into the big girl metal water bottles that are vacuum sealed. The funniest thing in the world is watching your young 6-year-old daughter come down and say, Dad, listen to this. And she was like, jingling some ice in her water bottle. And I go, what is it? And she goes, there's ice in here. I go, uh-huh. She goes, I put it in last night. I was like, oh yeah, welcome to a vacuum flask. It's very cool, isn't it? Check out Patriot Coolers. It's patriotcoolers.com, patriotcoolers.com. Link in the show description. Use promo code Kyle, Kyle, 10% off every time you use my name. Easy to do. Don't forget to use that 10% off. You might as well. If you spend $50, you'll get free shipping. I always do. It's super easy. Just find one for you and one for a friend. And let's get into today's program right now. Sponsored by our good friends here. Yes, indeed. Okay, so it's an exciting day. I just wanted to lead off with a gross and ugly story about arachnophobia. Also, I grew up watching movies like Arachnophobia, which apparently was a comedy. Did you guys know that? It was listed as a comedy, but when I watched it, I was horrified. I was terrified of spiders for a while, and I could never shake the image, since I'm just going down this little rabbit hole of arachnophobia. There was this image of a spider that was like the size of your palm. It was small. It wasn't that big. It was from the Amazon. It was this deadly spider. It was killing everybody. It would bite them, and then they would just die, and they'd be like in their car, like they'd be all exsanguinated and whatnot. And it's down in the basement of the main house. And I remember it like crawling at John Goodman or whoever the hell the other character is. And they light it on fire. And I don't remember how they lit it on fire. I think they did it with like WD-40 and a match, like OG. They didn't have like a cool flamethrower like me. They burn the spider, and it still comes running at them, and it like jumps. It's a jumping, biting Amazonian death spider, and they hit it with a nail gun, and the nail gun like pins it to the wall, and it just burns and it dies. I was terrified of that. I don't know what year it came out, but it scared the crap out of me. I don't like that. You know what else scares the crap out of me? Honest to God, all of this BS talk about we solved the problem, we got it, nailed it, job well done. Let's wrap it up. Give us our bonuses. I just want to look this up today. I want to give you a historical perspective. By October 8th of 2021, over 600, I'll say it one more time because the word, real simple, 600 people had been arrested in connection with January 6th and the Capitol attack. The investigation was ongoing at that time. January 21st, October 8th, during the first year of the Biden administration, 600 arrests that were politically motivated. By August of 2021, a few months prior, very specifically, they had over 570 defendants arrested. More than 200 of them had been indicted by grand juries. 36 had pled guilty, some to felonies, others to misdemeanors. The sentences of at least 6 defendants, with punishment ranging all kinds of prison time to probation, depends on what they had. By January 6th, by the end of this year, when we start on the beginning of next year, in 2026, it will be the 1-year mark in the Trump administration. And by the 1-year mark in Biden's term, we had over 725 people charged and arrested in the U.S. Capitol riot. Do we have more than 600 Antifa clowns arrested in Portland right now on federal charges? I'll just skip to the part where no, we do not. What about the other places where these people were doing these things? What about where they were doing ICE riots in Los Angeles or Chicago or Dallas? 600? No. How about 600 deep state conspirators, people who have worked against the American people, so we were told? Have we gotten to 600 there yet either? We have not? No. I think we've got one. I think we have one, and it's weak as hell. And today is the day that ex-FBI Director James Comey, they say arraigned. In reality, it's what's called an initial appearance. The arraignment is something I've only heard really in the local system. The federal system, we call it an initial appearance. After a judge called for his prosecution, which probably damns this particular case, particularly in EDVA, the Eastern District of Virginia. So let's read the story of what's going to happen. Former FBI Director James Comey will appear in the federal courthouse in Alexandria, Virginia. I've been in there. I had a female colleague in the bureau who ended up getting kicked out because she got drunk at a movie theater and she got into fights with security guards. Real kind of strange thing. I think she just kind of snapped. But she used to live right next to EDVA, and there's a federal prison system there, or the federal lockup detainment. And I used to pick her up occasionally en route into my office when her vehicle had problems because we were both new agents and she worked next to me. I only did it a couple times, and then she got kicked out for drinking or something like that. Kind of weird. I have a really vivid memory of parking underneath the overpass over next to EDVA and the detainment facility there. Anyway, a federal grand jury, Eastern District of Virginia, indicted Comey, whom Trump fired during his first term, for making false statements and obstruction of congressional proceedings. There's been a lot of speculation as to what was this false statement and how they were going to prove that. I know more about this case than I can actually say right now because I know people that are actually involved in it, and I don't want to do anything about that. I just want to say that it doesn't seem like anybody is really excited about it, which is why nobody wanted to push this forward. I think this was a request and an ask and a requirement by the FBI director, which goes to tell me something real specific about who is running the FBI right now. And yeah, we did a whole clown show on it last couple days, and we've been talking about the stupid coins and the unserious nature of what's going on. I can't help it. The reason I can't help it is because I had such high expectations for this guy that went in there. I campaigned pretty vigorously on social media in like a real grassroots way to get people in the American conservative side of the coin, people who are not necessarily Republican, but lean right, and was like, yeah, this is the guy. And every time I do a little bit more homework, which, by the way, full disclosure, let me just tell you guys, I'll pull the chat up here. I did not do any homework on Kash Patel when I went out there. I took my handshake greetings a couple of times that I met him, the fact that he was a stand-up dude and took care of my friends and sent a couple of checks out to my guys. That was good enough for me. I didn't go look into him. And you know what? Lesson learned. That is my mistake. I really should have, because I cannot believe the amount of disappointment we have. And I brought some clips to prove what I'm talking about, of course. All right, back to James Comey here. Trump posted a couple days earlier, we can't delay any longer. He was basically sending what looked like a text message or a direct message to Pam Bondi, but he was doing it in a public way. Comey, I love this. They always do this. This is Ryan Riley. I know Ryan. I actually like Ryan. He's a likable guy. We have an interesting, we don't agree on things, but I think that we don't agree on things the way that Americans used to not agree on things and still were able to not be nasty to each other. He did write the first, I think, what I would call hit piece, or at least attempted hit piece on me ever when I went public. So we have this fun little connection. He says, Comey, who was a registered Democrat. Let me try. I blew that up. Sorry. Comey, who was a registered Republican and served in the Justice Department during George W. Bush and then became the subject of Trump's ire when he helped the special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into the Russia interference in 2016. They always throw in that he was a registered Republican. Always. Like it's inevitable. Even though he was an action figure for the Biden-Harris regime. You know? They can't help but say, there was once a time when he was this one guy. Look, there was once a time when the FBI director actually said the right things too. But Jim Comey being indicted for lying, I think it's sketchy at best. I think it's weak. I think the fact that he had to move in a non-criminal experienced attorney to be the United States attorney in that area, And the AUSAs didn't want to do it. The assistant United States attorneys didn't want to make this happen. All of this goes back to Kennedy's first law. Now, Kennedy was the first producer of this podcast. He's a friend of mine, and we worked together only for a few months, but we've remained friends for years because he was always an honest operator. And the first law states that no matter who you nominate to be the FBI director, you end up with James Comey. Why is that? We said it here early on. The most dangerous thing that happens is the FBI director gets nominated, and rather than running the FBI runs him. It doesn't matter whether you call it bubble wrapping, which is the term that I've heard Chris Wray use and others inside the FBI. It doesn't matter if you call it isolated or compartmentalized or compromised or whatever it is that people say. Those words it doesn't matter. No matter who you put in the office, you get the same guy. Because this is the guy that we wanted in the FBI to sit there. A t-shirt wearing, like, understands the problem bro. He plays hockey. He's just like a regular dude. What I did not realize is that he's like a regular dude who wears a $30,000 watch when he sits down with senators and sniffs nonstop and has no problem with lying in front of Congress, in front of his confirmation hearing. And we know that he lied under oath because he had no problem lying to podcast audiences. I had a pretty prominent person on the right call me up, say that during the confirmation hearing, he was lied about. This is not Stu Peters. This is another person, someone I actually like and get along with. And he said, if he could lie to some people in Congress, he could totally lie to me. Was he just lying for all those years? Maybe so. Here he is with Sean Ryan. You guys remember this guy? This is who we thought we were getting.
Then we need to decrease what I call government creep with personnel. The FBI's footprint has gotten so freaking big. And the biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops. Go chase down murderers and rapists and drug dealers and violent offenders. What do you need 7,000 people there for? Same thing with DOJ. What are all these people doing here? Looking for their next government promotion, looking for their next fancy government title, looking for their parachute out of government. So while you're bringing in the right people, you also have to shrink government.
So a massive government reform.
Yeah. You got to work with Congress to eliminate the billets. This is one of the things we did when I was deputy DNI. We got to DNI and I was like, okay, what do all these people do? We've got the CIA, so why do I have analysts doing the CIA's job here? Why do I have a floor of them? Like, give me a good answer. I don't know everything. I don't know a lot. But if you can give me an answer that satisfies their existence, I'm all in. Well, we just have our own people. Okay, well, now we don't. And we went to Congress and zeroed out a bunch of billets, and they hated us for it.
Why? Why would Congress hate you for that?
Not Congress, the public. Congress is like, great, you saved us money. You're the only agency that returned money this year because we didn't spend our entire budget. We were literally funding seats with no humans in them.
That sounds great. Get rid of those people. That sounds awesome. Yeah, I'm into it. What are you seeing on the screen right here? There's Kash Patel, Alexis Wilkins. Credible reporting from at least a half dozen FBI agents. And I've also tapped on, sort of secondary sources, friends of mine who have other friends out there, people that you guys have heard of that I'm not going to go out right now since they may or may not have a deal going that may or may not get honored. Like 3 different field offices from DC to Honolulu reporting that this lady has a security detail of FBI agents. Do you know how crazy that is? For the guy that's saying, yeah, we have analytical personnel. What the hell are we doing with them? We shouldn't have them. You can't assign FBI agents to be your girlfriend's bodyguards. I'm pretty confident that's a violation of federal law. I posted it out the other day. It's definitely a violation of the CFR. There's a couple different situations where that falls into play. But using governmental resources for personal gain is a big no-no. It falls under the fraud, waste, and abuse statutes. I'm told the security detail is 2 agents. It has flexed to more. I'm also told, and I don't know how credible this one is because this one actually looked a little bit sketchy. We're still looking into it. But there's a possibility that there was another girlfriend or other girls that are being given protective status. She's not even married to the man, and we don't protect spouses in the FBI. That's not how it works. The person who does the job basically gets a security detail. Why? Chris Wray used to get a security detail, not for his home in Atlanta. It was wherever he was. If he was physically in Washington, D.C., that's where the security detail was. If he was back in Atlanta, or if he was outside of Atlanta in Georgia, then that's where the security detail was. It followed the man, not the whole family. This is not a Secret Service game. This is more evidence to me that the guy that we have in the FBI director's chair is just a budget knockoff version of Donald Trump. It's all the braggadocious nonsense and none of the decades of branding that makes it somehow charming and work for Donald Trump. It does work for Donald Trump. It has worked for him. It doesn't work for this guy. I don't get it. We're going to come back to more of this stuff, but as this was explained to me yesterday and I went and put this out, a lot of different folks have heard this, but nobody can get anybody to go on the record. I don't really need anybody on the record to say that credible reporting from people that I trust have stated this, including people that I've known for a really long time. And when I brought it up, they were like, yeah, of course. Like, that's true that you can say that. You know, I'm not going to credit their names because I don't need them fired, but that's what he's doing right now. He's firing people left and right. But not because they did necessarily the wrong thing even. And this is the best part of this. They're getting fired. People are getting fired over at the Bureau for non-criminal behavior. And I'm going to kind of share that with you too. The overarching premise is still the same. We had two people go in there to do one thing. Remember this guy?
The FBI is lost. It's broken, irredeemably corrupt at this point. The inexcusable raid on President Trump's home was the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean it when I say it. It's way past time to clean this FBI house up. They have burned every last shred of faith and trust freedom-loving Americans had in it. And to the libs out there, listen, don't even waste your time lecturing me on this issue. Not a second. I gaff you right off. I pay no attention to you losers, okay? No one's been a stauncher defender of FBI agents I work with than me. Go back and listen to my shows, you dipwads. I was the one defending them all the time.
I like dipwads. I think we're going to try to incorporate dipwads. I just want you to remember this. Remember, and start with the analogy I started on today. We hired some people to come in and get rid of the bugs. We had an infested house. We hired someone come in and do exterminations. Did they do that thing? What was the extermination going to look like? Was it going to be, we sprayed it all down and then we went outside and they kept creeping out and we're like, yeah, we problem the problem. Don't look at that. Oh, don't look at that. That's not how you do extermination. How do you do it? It seems like these guys actually had a real plan. They sold it to us in the invoice. Sign off for us to come and treat your house. We're going to do fumigation. We're going to do elimination. We're going to do flamethrowers and nail guns if we need to. Like, whatever. We're going to get rid of the things. What does it look like? It sounds like that.
It is time for total personnel warfare. Do you understand that? Everybody has to go. Anyone in the justice system, a United States attorney, an AUSA, an assistant United States attorney, that's what we call them in the system. The intake AUSA, who decides, anyone who sniffed this case, touched this case, tweeted positively about this case, it is the president's full and final discretion to keep you hired in the DOJ. Pam Bondi, soon to be President Trump, soon to be Attorney General, everybody's got to go. It is time for, say it with me, folks, throw it in the chat right now, total personnel warfare.
Got it. Okay. There's Pam Bondi. There she is, AG Pam Bondi. She refused to answer key questions, and Adam Schiff kept the receipts. That's the claim. This is obviously coming from the hard left. This is coming from MSNBC. And all that is to say is that Pam Bondi went out in front of the Senate here, the Senate Oversight Committee yesterday, and she got to chat about some things. And if you listen to what they said over on the political right, people were like, yeah, crushing it. She destroyed them. She burned them with fire. Pam Bondi is doing the same sort of like whataboutism thing. She was like, oh, you want to say some mean things about me? I'll say some mean things with you. And I guess she gets away with it because she's a woman. She's actually slightly more articulate and more charming or likable when she speaks than Patel is. It's not good, though. Attorney generals have traditionally been known as the people's lawyers. Pam Bondi, however, has gone out of her way to position herself as Donald Trump's lawyer. Look, this is the backswing. This is the tit for tat. This is what happens when you have Eric Holder, who says he's Barack Obama's wingman. And then you end up with this eventually. You finally find that Trump is going to go, all right, well, we tried some of the establishment types. We tried to bring other people in. We had Barr, we had Sessions, we had these other folks. Now we're going to do my person, who's just going to do what she's told. She's going to go out there and play my game. Okay. Senate Judiciary held its annual Justice Department oversight hearing on Tuesday. And over the course of several hours, the nation's chief law enforcement official put on an exceedingly unusual display. Well, they always do call this stuff out. Only from one side, right? There's been plenty of tense exchanges between Justice Department officials and the panel's members over years, but it's difficult to think of a comparable example, the Attorney General showing outright contempt and disgust for the senators from the opposing party. By the way, Patel did the same thing. I would call it conduct unbecoming. But maybe it's not completely out of line to be unbecoming when we are in the light of revelations of what our Justice Department and our FBI tolerated and did. Now, yesterday, I played you guys a clip, and I got a little bit heated about it. And I
solicit.
There it is. That's the clip. And I actually owed you better than that, because I should have watched the entirety of the clip and realized that it wasn't just Grassley talking about something, and it wasn't just going to cut over to Johnson, which I knew it did. And I didn't realize that I was going to get so pissed off about the idea that they're calling for whistleblowers. Here's the real outrageous piece of all of this. Bondi went up. She didn't answer certain questions, and she got owned on some other ones. And I think Dick Durbin actually landed a critical point. You, as the Attorney General, madam, told the American people that the Epstein client list files were on your desk. And she tried to sort of like quibble and say, I said they were on my desk, but I hadn't read them yet. We know what you meant. We know what you said. You stated things that you couldn't back up. Your ego or your personality or your TV persona wrote checks that your body couldn't cash, since we're doing 80s movies right now. I think Arachnophobia was an 80s movie. Might have been early 90s. All right. The fact of the matter is she went out there and she stepped in it and stepped in it hard, and it was an unforced error on behalf of the Trump administration. But the real shady thing is that the previous administration did some absolutely scandalous stuff. And I'm going to say it so clearly here. Clip this if you guys are so inclined. The reason it is so insane, Arctic frost, the toll records, and collecting information on sitting U.S. senators, the reason this thing is so nuts and why everything you're going to hear about it is complete BS. And all this request for whistleblowers and all this stuff, risk your career, come and tell us, so that the next administration can come and do what Patel's doing today, eliminate you, destroy you, because your name will go public and your reputation will be mud. The reason it is so insane is because it was legal. The things the previous administration did with the special counsel and bringing all these folks under and saying, hey, will you go investigate the former U.S. president? Hey, will you guys go serve a search warrant over there? Hey, will you guys go and do some phone taps and try to prove that the previous president of the United States was trying to overturn the election, even though he left voluntarily from the White House and didn't actually do anything to stop it? And can you go out there and run down and get 600 of his supporters by October the 8th of 2021 and maybe get in a total of like 2,000 and interrupt lives and cause people to commit suicide and charge them with terrorism? Can you do those things? And everybody said, you got it, boss. Or they said, hey, I don't feel really good about this, boss. And they said, well, it's your job. And they went, all right, that's good enough for me. And then they went and did it. Not one of those people broke the law in doing what they did. And that's why you have James Comey indicted for false statements that had nothing to do with the things that people are upset with him about. They got him on a minor technicality indictment that doesn't even look that strong. In fact, it looks quite weak. Everything they did was totally legal. It was totally above board, and it is totally within the purview of the FBI. And so rather than us looking at what they're doing right now, where we had this guy, I'm going to play this clip from, this is actually kind of fun. This is an archive clip where Patel actually tells us, we've cleaned out all the people that weaponized this FBI. We got them. This is the John Goodman standing on the porch saying, the house is clear. I've exorcised the demons. And the creepy crawlies come sneaking out the back, and they have more than once. He'd said this and said, we got them all. And then I pointed out that his pilot was actually on that special counsel squad. By the way, Chris Meyer, who was fired, I think probably illegally, Chris Meyer was fired, and he was on CR 15, Criminal Squad 15. You're going to hear that reference later on in this podcast by Patel. They disbanded the entire unit. Apparently, they fired everybody in it. They have fired him this week. They claim that they disbanded it previously. I've seen this multiple times. CR-15 has been disbanded. That they just shut down the squad and said, you're not doing this work anymore. CR-15 used to be under the purview of Timothy Tebow. Timothy Tebow is going to be demonized. He's going to be brought up. He was the one who allowed all this to go on. Timothy Tebow was removed in 2022. The document from Arctic Frost that came out was written in like August of 2023. I think I actually have it on the screen here. If you give me a second, I think I can actually find it. There it is. Yeah, no, September of 2023 was when this particular cast document that they are all holding in their hands with the redacted names. So it wasn't Tim Tebow who was there. As I understand it, it was a Caucasian lesbian, as one of my friends told me. We just can't figure out who the name of that person is. Does she still work there? Here's Kash Patel claiming we've cleaned this house out, and this is months ago. And all we keep finding out is the house is full of junk. It's full of bugs, and they keep cropping out to prove that these exterminators are not doing their job. Total personnel warfare was a myth.
You came in, you're there now, the leader. But have the old leaders who assigned this and directed this operation, have they been dismissed from the FBI?
Every single person that has been found to have weaponized or participated in that process has been removed from leadership positions. And if and when we find any others that are involved in this, as you know, this is a 37,000 person agency, we are going to take swift action just like we have. And just look at the record of the people that have been dismissed for their actions and what they're saying when they get out there about how they personally opined about the weaponization of this place, just like one of Peter Strzok's friends did recently this past week.
Right.
That's how we know we're finding the right folks.
Right.
And we're going to keep doing it. It's not done yet, but we're going to stay on it.
All right. I get it. Thank you for that answer. I mean, you're going as far as you can go.
You can't tell us all the things that you might want to tell us, so thank you so much. We're Fox News. This is what we do. We just fluff up the government because our guys are in there. Our guys are the runners. So good job. Way to go, Patel. We don't even see the bugs that you're squishing with your back foot. Let's take a breather real quick. If you guys think it might get bad, one of the things you could do is prepare yourself, because I'll just guarantee you, I had a really nice Sunday sit-down recording yesterday. Nobody's going to come save you. And our guest on this Sunday, which will be available for folks on Saturday that are on our locals, you guys will get a chance to understand. God may not remind you that no one's coming to save you, but some of you will see examples out there in the world, and it'll be a good one. These are my friends over at Shield Arms. And this is something that I actually am super amped up because they've been trying this for a while.
Yeah. Hey, got a second?
Yeah.
Remember that thing that we've been working on that everybody told us we couldn't do?
Yeah.
Well, we did it.
You're kidding.
Nope.
Show me. All right, walk me through this.
So you got a Glock 17 with a 20-round mag, flush fit. And you got a Glock 19 with an 18-round mag, flush fit.
Wow. So +3 for both platforms.
That's right. You want to see them run?
Absolutely.
Let's go.
So what you guys are just seeing on there is that these guys have been trying to crack the code on how do you add more magazines flush fit to the factory length magazines for a Glock, which is carried by a lot of folks, including myself. They managed to get +3 on a Glock 17 and a Glock 19, which is pretty freaking wild. These are normally 17 round and 15 round. That's a big game changer to be able to get them to fit flush with the previous one. And if they run great, which their Gen 3s run really great in the smaller guns, I have to imagine these guys kind of figured it. Check them out over at Shield Arms, at shieldarms.com. Use the promo code Kyle. I think it saves you 5% right now. These things are coming soon. This is what they call the DS or the Delta Sierra series magazines. Go check out their S15s. That's what I'm using. I've got the S15 sitting in my carry gun every day, so I carry a Glock 43X that also manages to hold an additional 5 rounds for a tiny little pistol, which is pretty awesome. If you guys haven't figured out what your concealed carry options look like, first, go get some training, figure out what fits your hand. If it happens to be a Glock, which are very reliable, then you should check out my friends over at Shield Arms. If you guys are Glock carriers, they've also got something called a CHOP. We'll do it another time. We'll maybe do a locals discussion about the CHOP. Maybe they'll have somebody come on with us. I actually really like their products. They're super nice people. They're out in Big Fork, Montana, which is where one of my buddies lives. And it's an American company making really cool stuff. Both the guns that are over my headboard, by the way, are Shield Arms. I've got a folding stock 300 Blackout, which I brought this up only because yesterday during our sit down, we were talking about weapon systems. And I also have like a little 9mm collapsible AR9 thing that's for my wife. Good people, good stuff. Check them out. Again, shieldarms.com, link in the show description, promo code KYLE. Let's see what's going on. All right, let's dig deeper into this nonsense. Actually, let's just do like sort of a general celebration. Let's have a little deep breath here. The federal government has been shut down for 8 days, guys. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. CBS News. What to expect. I already told you what to expect. At some point in the somewhat near future, we are going to find out that they are going to pay for all these things. They're going to be outraged, I tell you, and then they're going to pay for it, which means we're going to pay for it. We're the neighbor in the analogy from earlier, right? The senators, the congressmen that we elected, they're our neighbor that's standing on the porch looking at the guy who's squishing bugs with his back foot and going, yeah, it looks pretty good. Like, he's just squished like 5 or 6 extra bugs. Like, that just happens. And we're going, no, it's not good. On Tuesday, confusion spread on whether the 750,000 furloughed federal workers would be receiving a back pay when the White House Office of Budget Management suggested they might not. This is the big story. If you guys are seeing this, government shutdown updates. Trump suggests furloughed workers may not get back pay. Well, the funny thing is that our federal government costs us slightly over $18 billion a day to operate. So we've saved significant amounts of money. Every day of the shutdown is more money that we are not spending, except we're going to all spend it again. We're just going to spend it without getting any of the services of those people. The non-essentials that don't really have a functional job, they get back pay almost every single time. That's usually the negotiation. That's one of the hard lines that Democrats always do, because who are their constituents? Democrats in government who vote at a very, very high percentage rate. Democrat versus Republican. I've told you guys this before about the FBI specifically, but in law enforcement, you find that people tend to be conservative. In intelligence circles, you oftentimes find that it's 50-50 or it leans aggressively towards the left. Kind of depends on which agency. So conservatives were the majority of FBI agents, which were the minority of FBI employees. And so, yeah, they get a paid vacation. It's just back paid at a certain amount of time. For the 6th time, the Senate is set to consider a dueling funding measure. Republicans are submitting them and Democrats are submitting them. We talked about it the other day, and they're both losing by 5 to 7, 8 votes at a time. So there's enough people that are not going to switch over. Eventually, those people will cave and they'll pay that bill, even though there's still creepy crawlies coming out of the back of the house. The shutdown has contributed to staffing issues. They're going to go ahead and highlight that there are air traffic control towers that have issues. California's Hollywood Burbank Airport. Hollywood Burbank Airport. I wonder if that's actually the major airport in Burbank, or if they call it Hollywood Burbank. I've never heard of Hollywood Burbank. There's another one. It says it doesn't. There's a lot of airfields that operate without ATC. But people are getting sick outs and so on. So they've shut down some of the staffing, which means it's a little bit less convenient. Turns out, if you're saving what, $18 billion a day, $18.2 billion a day, and it's a little bit longer flying. No, we're going to end up caving. We're going to end up paying that bill. It's happening. Okay. And should we? The answer should be no. This is the clip that set me off yesterday. I'm going to play it again. This is from Chuck Grassley. He's going to introduce Ron Johnson. Ron Johnson's going to call for whistleblowers. All of that is seriously offensive to me. But I want to set it up again because we're going to knock down that the things that were said in and of themselves, even the publicly available information about transparency and all this other nonsense that we've heard the FBI director go out and put out there, it should be a reason that Republicans stand firm and do not fund at least one part of DOJ. They should line item cross it out and say, no, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit longer look on this. And they're not going to do that. They're going to pay for it. So they're crying here, I guess, for fundraising, because I'm probably sure there's fundraising emails going out. And then they're going to go out there and give these people exactly what they want. Here we go. All right, take a deep breath. This is truly offensive to people who are whistleblowers and had their lives ruined over this stuff. Can we get some more of you, please, even though we're not going to help you and we haven't called you back ever? Ron Johnson called me one time in 2023. Never returned my call after that. Never.
Solicitation of these telephone records, which I think emphasizes the political weaponization that was behind all this effort. And we're still getting more information, but we've released some records today, and I'll let Senator Johnson take over from here, and then each one of you colleagues can join in when you want to, whatever you want to say.
First of all, I want to thank Senator Grassley. It is because of his relentless advocacy for whistleblowers that a lot of this information is surfacing right now. We wouldn't know about the list of 100 Republican entities that were targeted by Jack Smith's Arctic Frost investigation. I don't think we know about this as well. So we need whistleblowers. I think Dan Bongino and other folks in the FBI, they don't know where all the records are hidden. They still don't. They're not necessarily getting 100% cooperation. But this is outrageous what has happened. I just want to give you a timeline of this. I think you've already got the FBI sheet that shows the number of members of Congress that were targeted. Representative Kelly, Senators Graham, Haggerty, Hawley, Sullivan, Tuberville, myself, Senator Lummis, and Blackburn. This memo was dated September of 2023. To put it all into context, the Mar-a-Lago raid occurred in August of 2022. Jack Smith announced the indictments against President Trump in August of 2023. So this is almost 2 months later. They're casting this net, this fishing expedition against members of the Senate and the House. Again, I've been investigating this with Senator Grassley. This doesn't surprise me, but it should shock every American of what the Biden administration has done. And by the way, this is the first time I was targeted by the FBI. Under the Obama administration, the same thing happened to both Senator Grassley and I. As part of the Foreign Influence Task Force, we were giving a briefing to try and convince us that the Hunter Biden laptop was no big deal. Basically, trying to throw us off the track.
Got it. All right. So the timeline is special counsel. At some point, we're going to hear another clip where he goes out there and makes the argument this has something to do with Timothy Tebow. I'm going to hold on to that for a second because there's some really interesting little bits in there that he drops on accident. I don't even think that he was trying to disclose it, but what it does is it derails the narrative that is being sold as far as what happened. Now, Josh Hawley was interviewed. Here's what he had to say. He's outraged. I keep tweeting at him. I'm doing this on social media. You guys can join me. Don't fund the agency that did this thing to you. Or do whatever the hell you want. Just spend all of our money and pretend, because then I can know exactly how theatrical and nonstop you are. You do not do the thing that you say. This is the same guy that was outraged. Listen to the things that he is outraged about. Nearly every single damn one of these things is known because me, specifically, personally, and Garrett O'Boyle brought it forward at great significant cost. 1,100 plus days right now, Garrett O'Boyle hasn't been paid. He's officially, supposedly, an FBI agent again. No paycheck, no back pay. Steve Friend did the American Radicals yesterday. No paycheck, no back pay yet. Signed agreement, now in violation. Here's Josh Hawley. He's outraged.
Senate Judiciary Committee member just stepped out of that hearing. What did you hear from Dan Bongino and the FBI last night on this?
Well, what I know, Bill, is that they targeted the DOJ, the Biden DOJ specifically targeted a group of us. They asked for our call records so they could see who we talked to, who called us. I believe also track our location over a period of days. This is outrageous. I mean, this is really unbelievable. It's blatantly unconstitutional. It's a violation of the First Amendment. It's a violation of the separation of powers. And it also goes to show you the extent to which the Biden administration was so corrupt, using the FBI to target their political enemies. And let's not forget, they didn't just do it to senators. They did it to school board parents who went and spoke up at those school board meetings. They did it to 92 conservative organizations, including Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. They tried to recruit spies into Catholic parishes. That's the kind of people we're dealing with here. Bill, we need a total investigation, a thorough investigation into everybody who was responsible. And I think there needs to be prosecutions.
Okay, there needs to be prosecutions. And think about all these things that he did. I mean, look what the FBI did. Yeah, a-hole. Who do you think told you that stuff? Where are you guys? Where the hell have you been? You've held hearings on it. We've proven it. We've given you documents that actually showed exactly what happened. And here's the crazy thing. Oh, you think there should be you should have prosecutions? Why? Why should there be prosecutions? Under what terms would we prosecute? The FBI did what the FBI is entitled to do, what they're allowed to do. And if you fund it, then you agree with it. I have to say that. It's kind of like if you fund it, you own it. You agree it's good enough. If you pay the bill for the exterminator that didn't do the job, then you told that exterminator that was good enough for me. And it is the same thing if these senators go out there and fund this DOJ and fund this FBI in totality. If you pay for it, you're telling us that you're complicit. You're okay with it. How do I know? Because you're funding your own demise. And none of you are that dumb. None of you are. Senator Hawley's not dumb. That's clear. If you pay for it, though, You're accepting it. Here's Senator Kennedy asking for prosecutions. And Chuck Grassley, who's 91,000 years old, is like, we got to be really careful about, I just found this stuff out a few seconds ago.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
may I ask you a question?
If I can answer it, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are you going to hold a separate hearing on your whistleblower account of the FBI investigation of 8 United States senators?
I think we need, my answer to your question is, I think we need to wait until we see what the FBI can report and whether it's necessary to have a hearing. Right now, I haven't ruled one out, but I haven't made a decision.
And what year do you think that will happen in?
I want the FBI to be a thorough investigation of it and report to us what information they can give us, and I don't know how long that'll take them.
With respect, are you giving them a certain period of time?
I have not given them a certain period of time. I'll discuss that matter with my staff and see if that needs to be done.
Okay, if civil suits are filed against the perpetrators at the FBI, will that facilitate your investigation?
Well, what's the question again?
If the 8 senators who were spied upon sue the hell out of the Department of Justice and the perpetrators involved, will that facilitate their investigation and or yours? I guess what I'm getting to is I don't understand why we don't have a separate hearing. I find this breathtaking.
Yeah. It's just been 24 hours since the FBI investigated on it. Please give me an opportunity to sort through all this.
Fair enough. I just don't want to wait 24 years to get an answer.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
It's only been one day of this. We just found out that FBI was weaponized. Who could have predicted? Who would have thought? So we're going to ask the staff what to do because I'm too old. This man has no idea what's going on anymore, by the way. Absolutely useless to me. Absolutely useless to whistleblowers. I spoke to his staff one time. And after I gave them an hour-long discourse of like, here's all the things that I've exposed, here's who I am, this is what I've done, and this is what's happened to my family, they were like, so do you have anything that you want to disclose to us today? I'm like, a-holes, I don't work there anymore. Are you serious? I just told you what I did disclose. You assholes are going to talk about it for the next couple of years. Sorry, I shouldn't swear. You guys are going to talk about this for years. They did that. That was in 2022. For the last 3 years, you've been hearing them talk about it. But if you have anything, know that whistleblowers are the lifeblood of government transparency. I'm going to show you some transparency in a second here with Kash Patel. It's freaking amazing. Before I do that, Spotify is where you guys can find us if you're doing the replay, if you have any issues with the feed. It's KyleSerafinshow.com. It's an easy way to share, and you may hear a Spotify ad right now. They're canned. They just come in and they play it. Check us out over on locals at KyleSerafin.com. There's 2 things you get out of that. Number 1, you can support us financially, which we appreciate, and you're going to be able to hear the Sunday sit down early, and you can do our call-in show. Otherwise, like and share and subscribe on the video platforms. YouTube is growing. Rumble is doing whatever Rumble does. X seems like it's not even streaming today because apparently they're having some issues. It's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. All right. Will we get the real story from the made in Chinese version of Donald Trump? Allow this braggadocious, no years of branding guy to step up. He's wearing a really ugly blazer. That's his style. That's his stilo. It's a Miami style, even though he's from New York. Because he was in Las Vegas too long, I guess. Here's Kash Patel telling us about a locked box put in a dark room hidden by some things. That's how we had to do some real serious investigations into the Bureau of Investigations to find out who the bad actors were. If only you had a roadmap and a local guide. If only you had hired, I don't know, like Steve Friend, who had been spending the last several years not only just like speaking FBI, but learning FBI and looking into FBI. Somebody who had maybe a decade worth of time at the agency. Maybe you could have helped. We could have helped you. You turned around and stabbed us in the back right away. Maybe you shouldn't have, because then I wouldn't have to embarrass you with this stupid comment you just made on Hannity. Here he is explaining what happened to Johnson and Halley and others.
Sean, I want to peel this onion carefully. Look, They put this information, those that weaponized the FBI and prior leadership at DOJ and FBI, they took this information where they subpoenaed 8 sitting United States senators, put it in a lockbox, put that lockbox in a vault, and then put that vault in a cyber place where no one can see or search these files. They're called restricted access and prohibited access. Restricted access means some people get to see it. Prohibited access, you put it in there when you want to hide it from the world, and that takes the authorization of the Attorney General and the Director of the FBI. So not only did they weaponize this law enforcement, but when we got in there, and when I got in as the FBI Director, from my experience as Russiagate, I knew where to look and what rooms to open and what doors to kick down. And that's what we did. We found this information to expose the politicization by Jack Smith and the prior Department of Justice. I mean, just think about it. 8 sitting United States senators. Phone records were gathered and subpoenaed through the grand jury process, and it was buried and wormholed with the hope that no one would find it. So we're just scratching the surface here, but accountability is coming. You're darn right I fired those agents. You're darn right I blew up CR-15, the public corruption squad that led the weaponization at the Washington field office. We're just warming up, but we are running our investigations to the ground. We are finding every single person involved. We will not leave a single room locked. We will go in through all the prohibited access requirements, and we will find the material and show the American public, like we have done in this FBI, more transformative and transparent than any in the U.S. history, to bring accountability to the American people. And we were...
Sorry, I just had something in my nose that makes me get really excited or whatever, that I do that on interviews for some reason. I wrote down the process of what he just said, okay? Let me just help you out. And then I'm going to debunk what he just said, because it turns out he said something to senators and they proved that he's full of shit. They subpoenaed the information. I wrote this down, so hold on. They subpoenaed the information of these senators and one congressman from the telco companies, from the cell phone companies, toll records. And they placed that into a locked box. So the subpoenas, returns, they're usually a digital return, and they took the digital returns, and it sounds like they printed them, and they put those printed papers in a lock box. I'm just taking him literally right now. It turns out he's probably saying something sort of metaphorical, or I don't know what he's saying. And then that lock box, they went and put that inside of a vault, which I think a vault is a larger locked box. So paper inside of a locked box inside of a vault. And here's how I know he's full of crap. Because then they took the vault, which I assume is a room. Usually a vault is a room, right? So lockbox, put it inside of the room. Safety deposit box goes inside of the safety deposit room, which is the bank vault, right? They took the whole vault, apparently, and they put that in a, checks notes, cyber place. They put that in a cyber place. And the cyber place was not just a restricted file. It was prohibited access file. So nobody could find it, except what people who were looking for it. Is this Jack Sparrow, right? Is he looking for the island of de Muerta? Are we doing a movie here? Seriously, since we're doing movie references, is this a Pirates of the Caribbean? It's a compass what doesn't point north and only can be found by people who knows where to find it. What are we talking about? Oh, it turns out that we had this other guy, Ron Johnson, who actually told us how they found the locked box that was hidden in a vault, the vault which was hidden in a cyber place, which they uncovered. Ron Johnson accidentally told us actually what happened.
So 8 U.S. senators, 1 congressman, all Republicans. What do we not know about Arctic frost that you hope to still discover?
Well, first of all, as it relates to the seizing of our phone records, who knew about it? Who approved it? Normally, there'd be a very rigorous approval process going pretty high up in the chain, but they circumvented that by saying, well, these aren't subjects of our investigation. They're not targets.
Guys, hold on. I will tell you who it is. Just a second. 1 second. I got the information for you. Senator Johnson, I've got it. It's right here. I found it. This is it. SSA approved by, redacted. That's one of the people who approved it. SSA approved by. That's the other person who approved it. Okay? Sensitive investigative matter, cast. That means that you can go to the ADC and the CDC of the Washington field office that were those jobs on September the 27th of 2023. They helped. I got you. Hold on. Who else is on here? Oh, let's see. Drafted by, also redacted. The drafted by person. That's who also did it. Okay, so there you go. You're welcome. If you guys have any whistleblower funding or whatever monies you want to send our way for answering your mysterious problems, let me just get further into this. But I just wanted to help you out while we're in the middle of this interview with Laura Ingraham. Why bring on people who don't know when you could bring on people who do know? Like, I don't know, like the FBI director who redacted this.
So they circumvented that. So this is an outrageous violation of the separation of powers. We need to know who knew what and when they knew it.
Well, there was one agent that gets named in a lot of these documents who was involved. Is like one person.
Timmy Tubo. Yeah, he was the agent in charge that basically thought of this investigation and then approved it. Totally violating FBI procedures in terms of how you establish an investigation, get it approved up the chain. He did it himself. So he's one of the bad actors. But, Laura, there are plenty of people still in the Jack Smith prosecution team. They're still burrowed into the FBI.
Hold on. Tim Tebow was to blame for this. Tim Tebow was removed from the Washington field office. He, quote unquote, voluntarily retired and or was walked out of the building in tears. Take your pick who you want to believe, but that's what I heard. Voluntarily removed from the FBI on August the 26th of 2022. The memo that I just had on the screen was from September 27th, 2023. So Tebow had been gone for over a year at that point in time. The math doesn't add up there, Senator Johnson. Can you help us understand? Maybe we could actually figure out what's going on here. Tim Tebow's name came up, though, because, that's salacious.
This only came to light because the agent who seized the records, who got them, basically used this to recertify in this cast team.
Wait, what? The records only came to light from the locked box that was hidden inside of the vault room that was taken to a cyber place and then put on a restricted access and prohibited access file? It came to light because someone actually was recertifying for this cast team, the analysis team that did this, and they put it on their 954. Guys, I am acting fake incredulous here because I told Kash Patel, and so did Phil Kennedy, and so did Garrett O'Boyle, and so did George Hill, and so did Steve Friend, and probably anyone else that he talked to, that if you want to find the people who have been doing the so-called weaponization of the FBI, which we all called out, you'd have to go find people who listed on their 954, that's an internal resume that can include things like classified projects and a little bit more specificity. It's not like a one-page resume where you're trying to get hired. It's where you're trying to get promoted inside the FBI. You put bullet points in there. Those in the military have similar ideas. You put bullet points in there of how did I save the world and why am I the greatest agent and why should I have this job? And it turns out that if you're trying to justify being reinstated on a team after your term of service there has expired and you are in a competitive process, then you give them your 954. And what would it have on your 954 if you were going to go search the archives of those things, which, by the way, are all in FBI files. And by the way, they're not restricted or prohibited access. They're sitting on some guy's they're sitting in his individual terminal. They're sitting there on his red side computer in like a Word document that he keeps updated. Do you know what the 954 might have? How about everybody that vigorously went after January 6ers? You'd be able to find those people. What about people that participated in the Mar-a-Lago raid? I guarantee you that all the supervisors and all the leadership that were involved in that put that on their 954. What about people who assisted, participated, or otherwise aided the work of Jack Smith and the special counsel? If you wanted to find who those secret animals were, you could go to the 954. How would you know that? You'd ask an FBI agent who knew something about the FBI. You wouldn't ask Dan Bongino, who wants to do total personnel warfare but doesn't know where anybody is. Ron Johnson just told us that the locked box that was hidden in the vault that went to the secret cyber place was actually unlocked and revealed and exposed because of a 954, which anybody who had any experience in the FBI would have told him. You need about 2 years in the FBI to know that there is a thing called a 954 and that people who are in senior leadership have been building it up. In 3 years, some people actually have theirs ready to go, because they want to get promoted in 3 years. Most people have to put one together by 5 years. I never had one, for whatever it's worth. I haven't had it. I didn't want to get promoted. I didn't care. But if you want to go anywhere, 954. And so this cast agent, which is the Cellular Analysis and Survey Team, I think is what it stands for, that person put it on his 954. Because why wouldn't he? Because he did exploits of U.S. senators. By the way, that's not a violation of the First Amendment. It's also not a violation of the separation of powers. It turns out there is going to be no charges against any of these people. Why? Because they didn't break any laws to do this. No matter how much outrage they have, the fact that we're hearing about it is the result. The result is I'm going to complain about it loudly. Aren't you upset? I'm going to play you the same thing about Hunter Biden in a minute because John Ratcliffe, aka Johnny Ratcliffe, if you're Kash Patel, he's the CIA director. He goes out and says, yeah, we've revealed some documents and it seems like the entire Biden family was in on this corruption thing. It just turns out statute of limitations has passed. That's why the CIA director is going to tell you and not the attorney general is announcing that the indictment has come out and that a grand jury has gone forward. We got everything we got. We got everything we're going to get. Here's Ron Johnson. He's going to finish his thought. He's got a few more seconds here.
This is a brag sheet. This was an accomplishment to recertify to be able to do the exact same thing again. So happenstance, we had a whistleblower. By the way, we need more whistleblowers. We need more whistleblowers. That's how we found out about the associations they were targeted, including Senator Schmitt's Association of Attorneys General targeted by this FBI. So again, this is out of control. The Biden administration, the Obama administration have weaponized government 10 times what Democrats are falsely accusing the Trump administration of doing.
Got it. Well, didn't Kash tell us that he got all the spiders and the bugs out of the house and that they would be all gone? Didn't he kind of say that, but also say, but like, oh, there's also like a lot of bugs. So like there could be others too. You can't put this man in charge of things. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's fundamentally unserious. Again, here's the Fox News piece from months ago. Claiming success. Nothing worse than claiming victory when you're not even close.
You came in, you're there now, the leader. But have the old leaders who assigned this and directed this operation, have they been dismissed from the FBI?
Every single person that has been found to have weaponized or participated in that process has been removed from leadership positions. And if and when we find any others that are involved in this, as you know, this is a 37,000 person agency.
We got them all, but if and when, because we didn't. I just lie because it sounds good, and words like if and when are confusing to a Fox News audience because they have a limited attention span. That's what's up. Cool, man. Good story. Let's go a little deeper into this. Let's go to some folks over. This is Steve Bannon. He's writing for NBC. No, this is MSNBC. I thought that's where he wrote. As his tenure goes from bad to worse, Kash Patel abandons the pretense of seriousness. It's weird when I'm saying the same things. I didn't read this article prior to naming an episode about this a couple days ago. Kash Patel arrived at the FBI as a new director early this year. He faced the kind of credibility hurdles predecessors didn't have to worry about. If he was going to be seen as a serious and capable figure, one who was prepared to lead a federal law enforcement agency, he would have to invest time and energy in proving his mettle, rolling up his sleeves, and doing quality work on behalf of the Bureau. No. Not on behalf of the Bureau, Steve. You're incorrect there. He would have to do quality work on behalf of the American people to make it nonpartisan. This is the thing that we were trying to get to. The unqualified former podcast personality and conspiracy theorist has done largely the opposite, careening between a series of avoidable missteps. The last few weeks, however, have been especially rough. Yes, from Valhalla to being pretending Patel, I'm working on nicknames and they're all dumb. They're all sad. Since mid-September, Patel has pulled agents off terrorism and child predator cases to join the crusade to hunt down undocumented illegal aliens. Why are they doing that? Because the Trump administration has said they're going to hire a bunch of people to ICE, but they don't have any academy dates. So that's a misstep. That is a unforced error. Soon after, he announced that they were severing relationship with the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center because right-wing groups and online influencers don't like him. He began firing personnel who took a knee for George Floyd. Again, they shouldn't have had those jobs. They probably shouldn't have been fired for it, but they probably should have gotten at least as bad as what I got, which was suspended for a period of time. What about the ADL? Well, what's crazy is for all the people that want to hate on the ADL, the training at the Holocaust Memorial Museum was the reason why I was a whistleblower. Partly. It reminded me of exactly what happens when government does what it's not supposed to do. So I don't think it was really the problem. The ADL's sort of input on the FBI was minimal. And I didn't feel like there was a heavy hand of the ADL. It certainly didn't push a pro-Israel bend. And if it did, I didn't get it because I never understood that I was supposed to care anything about Israel at all. I never did. And I still don't. It's irrelevant to me. Southern Poverty Law Center was actually long listed as a non-credible source. And the fact that they used it is problematic, but I don't think they had an official relationship. So that was mostly for show. And the George Floyd thing and the kneeling, the Kneel Team Sixers, it's real clear to me that the punishment was not proximate to the cause in such a way that it's not going to make anybody stop. They got 5 more years of paychecks and a bunch of freaking promotions. All those people will probably end up okay. So they didn't do it effectively. Just like they're not doing it effectively with the statute of limitations and they're going after Jim Comey for a perjury charge. It's not enough. It's not going to do anything. Around the same time, the public learned that Patel fired an agent for displaying a gay pride flag on his desk. But he did it the year before when Patel wasn't even the director. Again, Should there be pride things? No. Do they have them out in front of the building? Yes. Does he probably have a lawsuit for that? Probably so. It's an unserious, stupid move. It's like grabs a headline, but it doesn't actually add any value. Just let everybody know. No more pride flags. There's not going to be any. Freaking HR at the FBI's Hoover building, which he was going to shut down on day one. The HR people used to have a pride flag and a trans flag up instead of an American flag. Have those people all been let go? Hey, Patel, if you're listening, and I think sometimes you are, so you might as well, why don't you go get rid of the entire HR department at the Hoover building? Every single one of those people should go because they're not even able to get Steve Friend reinstated. You guys are a bunch of clowns. This is so dumb. And then he put out the ridiculous challenge coin, which was covered. The Atlantic referred to it as Patel's coin does not convey gravitas. Instead, it says, I'm a grown man who spent way too much time on the internet. I'm going to say it actually says I'm not a grown man. It says that I am a glorified teenage boy. I'm a child who is pretending to be a man. I'm a serious, serious person only in my own mind. It sounds something like this. This was KDR over on X who made this for us.
Hey guys, look at me. I'm a badass.
Yikes. Wait, what was that?
Hey guys, look at me. I'm a badass.
Yeah, so he's a badass. Seriously. The people who tell you they're the badass, those are the ones I always worry about. The guy who wears his freaking badge that he didn't earn from Quantico while he's hanging out at Joe Rogan, and he showed up there right away to make sure, and he tucked his shirt the way a brand new agent does. I'm a badass. Look at my gun. Look at my badge. I'm the FBI director. I've never been in law enforcement. I never served in the military. I own private guns, and I'm going to let HRT have a whole thing full of them. Let me put on this cool plate carrier and go fly. He put on a plate carrier to go hang out in the ocean on a boat with the hostage rescue team within a couple of days of becoming the FBI director. He was running around like touring the shoot house and immediately wanted to be like, hey, who are the cool badasses? Can I hang out with you guys? What do you think of my new challenge coin? Look, it's a big green dildo on the bottom of it or whatever. It's nonsense. It's just silly. And then apparently the most recent thing was that they fired an agent for refusing to arrest and perp walk James Comey, which he claimed is not true, and maybe it's not true. Jim Comey was given a summons, which is what should have happened to January 6ers. Remember how we started today? 600 people on this day. 600, more than 600 on this day in 2021 had been arrested by the Biden administration. Somebody figured out how to make the FBI actually do their bidding. So when you keep talking about this FBI or that FBI, the previous FBI is the bad FBI, and today's FBI is the good FBI because we're that FBI, stop, dude. We get it. You don't know what you're talking about. There's bad apples running everywhere. They're all over the place. You have no clue who it is that you're dealing with. And it's the same freaking FBI. And you're saving them and redacting them and protecting their names and trying to act like everybody who had a job that just did it, that they're fine, but you're also firing the people who did those jobs. So either the FBI did what they were told and it's not their fault, or we have to get rid of them all. And guess what? The senators can't figure it out either because they're going to fund it. Here he is talking about nonsense, same story. He's sitting in Chicago. I'm going to do a zoom in on this in just a second because this is also theatrical and pathetic. It is truly pathetic. Imagine this, because I'm going to give you guys an analogy. Imagine if a commander who is not a Green Beret went to go talk to a Special Forces team, because this is what we're going to see in a second here.
Step back and think about it for a second. You have, as you now know of, 8 sitting United States senators whose phone records were subpoenaed by the Department of Justice in the prior administration. For what? For what purpose? None of these senators are criminals. They have no criminal activity associated with them whatsoever. Why did the Department of Justice and Jack Smith go in there and authorize subpoenas? And it's not just them, there's others. And so what we're doing in our transparency, in our commitment to transparency and our initiative at FBI and DOJ is putting the records out, providing them to Congress, letting them conduct oversight. But we will also internally investigate those involved. We've already disbanded the Public Corruption Squad at WFO. We've already jettisoned these people at the FBI that were involved in the politicization of law enforcement. And if there needs to be a criminal investigation, you better believe it, we're on it.
I don't believe it. Not even a little bit. You're doing things like exposure and transparency, and maybe there's criminality. There isn't. That's the whole point. They did what they were told to do. Todd Blanche was the guy sitting next to him. Let me just show you guys what's really, really cringy to me. During that sit down, he's wearing a raid jacket, which he had custom made with his name on it. It says Kash Patel, director. He's also got a Chicago FBI SWAT patch on one side and an FBI patch on the other. And he's wearing a Chicago FBI SWAT hat. Now, I don't think FBI SWAT is particularly elite for whatever it's worth. If you guys are in SWAT and you were in the FBI, most of you guys did like a 2-day freaking CrossFit workout, and I'm not impressed. I just don't care. My friends who are actual killers and studs, I have friends that were Navy SEALs that said, not going to happen. I had a buddy who's a Green Beret who thought that they were a joke. He was a one-man action squad. I'd rather hit a house with him and him only than the entire FBI SWAT team because he was more competent. Doesn't mean they don't do decent work. I mean, they're just like, they're doing a formulaic thing. But they rarely get involved in actually adversarial actions. And the funny record that I found for 10 years with the FBI's Washington field office SWAT team is they had like a 5-0. They shot 5 of their own people or 3 of their own people, or whatever the numbers were. They were really, really embarrassing. Multiple what we call negligent discharges resulting in agents injuring other agents versus adversarial action and shooting a bad guy. This is seriously, this is a teenage holster sniffer, badge bunny wannabe. That's what a holster sniffer is. It's a male badge bunny, someone who is turned on by the trappings and the accoutrement of law enforcement. That's why he has that silly, nonsensical coin, and he's wearing Chicago SWAT. Imagine if you were a commander who came somewhere else out of an infantry unit, and then you showed up to a team of Green Berets, and you put on the Green Beret and you sewed on their ODA patch or whatever, and you put on the tab, said Special Forces, because you're a Special Forces commander. I mean, he's obviously the guy who has the top say on what goes on in the Chicago SWAT team. But he's not on the SWAT team. He didn't do whatever it takes. He didn't go to the 5 months of training that it takes to become an FBI agent and then go out there and check the box for the couple of days that they do to make sure you're physically fit to go be on the SWAT team and then go to the tactical training for a couple of weeks. Like, he didn't do any of that stuff. Why is he wearing their patch? Seriously. Why would you wear a patch you don't even earn? It's so obnoxious. It's so sad. It's thirsty and lonely. And by the way, why is he sniffing over and over again? Someone put this compilation together in December of 2024, and I'm just going to play it because I also have to sniff right now. I just can't help myself.
The deep state is afraid of him, and they know he's got a lot of information on them, and that's why they're terrified.
Sniff.
And you can see them just
by AOC. She's in her 20s.
Right.
You got your butts kicked
sniff.
by a former bartender.
All these efforts
are unclassified. And what Google just did to us today,
we're absolutely dead serious.
What he does for a living, and he's to comply with the law. And I'm still waiting for it.
Allowed me to visit to get the declassified documents out to the American people. And
so we didn't do it. We took the tougher road, and that's something I learned from Devin Nunes. You got to do it.
This goes on for like 2 minutes. It's so gross. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe you guys understand it. It's just so sad. I don't want to poke fun at people for like medical problems, but at the same time, like, what the hell are you doing, dude? All right, so let's do a quick little coverage of what Bondi got into, and then I've got one more little clip here from Ron Johnson, and we're going to shut it down for the day. Maybe the sniff is that he thinks there may be a holster nearby. That's maybe what's going on. It's a holster sniffing thing. Here's Pam Bondi talking out there. Again, we're getting this like spin that these guys are killing it. They're not killing it. They're doing a almost adequate workman job sometimes. I've got way more problems with what Patel's been doing than Bondi. Here was this little silly exchange.
The National Guard is on the way right now as we speak. Oh, by the way, so is Director Patel and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. You're sitting here grilling me, and they're on their way to Chicago to keep your state safe.
Madam Attorney General, it's my job to grill you.
It turns out it actually is his job to grill her. That actually is his job. Dick Durbin's not running for re-election, so he doesn't care. Oh, Kash Patel did make a claim that Chicago has 110,000 active gang members. What?
Taking the juggernaut that is demolishing the weaponization of law enforcement and bringing it to places like Chicago. When I was there today with Todd, we learned that the Chicago city streets have 110,000 gang members. That's right. You heard me right. They had 1,200 shootings this year alone, 360 homicides. When politicians choose to side with those metrics and not their citizenry, thank God we have President Trump and this Department of Justice and this FBI going in there and crushing violent crime. And President Trump sent us into these cities quietly to
I got to just tell you, that's an all-star move. He got a President Trump is awesome, and that's why we're so great. He got a crushing violent crime. He got a juggernaut reference all in a few seconds. And then he also just spit facts that were so insane that you couldn't find them unless you were the FBI director or if you had access to an internet terminal where you could go to heyjackass.com like we did this morning for you to find out exactly those numbers. Oh, it looks like total homicide, 354. Looks like there have been shot and wounded, 1,288 year to date right now. We found out that there have been 12 homicides so far in the month of October. It turns out these are also really, really, really easily accessible public information. There are multiple sites that do it. I just like Hey Jackass the best. I've been following them for a long time. Or you could have the FBI director go out there and talk about crushing violent crime and the juggernaut of the FBI. Blah, 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 blah. It's so tiring. For all the dunk and fire emojis that I saw people say that Pam Bondi had, this to me was crippling. Tell me we don't have people just doing nonstop, unforced errors. It's like they're looking for a rake to step on. They find it and they hit it. I actually don't mind when people step on a rake on accident. I ran into a table the other night. My wife turned off the lights downstairs a little early. I went downstairs. I've been staring at this computer screen, walked down, couldn't see anything. Bam, hit the table. The table's been there for months. I ran right into it hard and hit my hip. It was a bummer. That happens. Sometimes you just walk into something. Or sometimes you just you did it to yourself.
February, you made a public claim that the Epstein client list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now for review, end of quote. You then produced already public information and no client list at a major media event hosted at the White House. Attorney General Bondi, why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then produce nothing relevant to that claim?
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk along with the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files. And I said I had not yet reviewed it. And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see, our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list, our July 6th memo.
Going back to the Epstein files, according to another whistleblower who made a protected disclosure to my office, you pushed the FBI to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records on an arbitrarily short deadline in March, and the FBI was directed to flag any documents that mentioned President Trump. Nothing came of that review until July when DOJ and FBI released an unsigned memo stating, quote, there's no incriminating client list. Why was the July 7th memo unsigned?
The July 7th memo came from the FBI and the Department of Justice. Director Patel answered those questions very clear. And, you know, Senator Durbin, I find it very interesting that you refused repeated Republican requests to release the Epstein flight logs in 2023 and 2024. You fought that. Did you take money from Reid Hoffman, campaign donations?
No.
He said never, by the way. This is what I voted for. I want Pam Bondi to slam this guy. Yeah, Reid Hoffman. Let's go ahead and talk about something else. Anything to distract from the fact that you said clear things and the American people heard you. And that's why there's memes everywhere online of like, hey, how many people have you arrested? There were 600 J6ers arrested on this day. How many deep staters you got? Oh, none. Jim Comey's going to go for the first time on his own power, going to walk in. What happened to Bannon? What happened to Navarro? What happened to Roger Stone? What happened to Donald Trump's house? Like if you're going to come in and do total personnel warfare and blitzkrieg the whole thing, like just burn it to the ground. Isn't that the answer for a house that's so full of spiders that if you fumigate it and you tent it and you go in and spray everything and nothing works, burn it to the ground. No mas. It should be a rubble pile. And then you'll be like, well, we're going to bring in a bulldozer. We're going to flatten it out and maybe we'll rebuild. Or maybe it will be a vacant lot as a reminder that spiders are dangerous and we can't have them in our damn houses. Or you could just pretend, which is what these people keep doing. I told you I didn't do any vetting, and I really didn't. I didn't do any vetting on Patel before he got in there. I didn't do any vetting on Bondi or anything else, but I didn't out there advocate on behalf of Bondi. And I think Bondi's got some questionable stuff in there. For some reason, there's an awful lot of people in the Trump administration that have ties to Qatar. Can someone tell Laura Loomer about this, about Kash Patel? I didn't know this before yesterday. I did an AI search because I was trying to figure out how much Kash Patel's watch costs. And it was like $30,000. And then I was like, man, if you have a $30,000 watch, what is your net worth? What is it? How high is your net worth if you're rolling around with a $30K watch? Now, maybe you're just a guy who has a $30K watch, but that's what my minivan costs. And we've been driving that thing for years. So that's a lot of money for regular people. It's another thing that's funny about Patel with his Punisher icon. Do you guys know what the most single salient thing about the Punisher is? I'm going to break away from this for a second. Do you guys in the chat know what is the most remarkable, consistent quality of the Punisher, going from 1974 when he was a Marine to the movie that went out there where he was an FBI agent? There's always one thing in common. He had a wife and children. They were murdered, and then he decides to go into extrajudicial punishment. That's when he becomes a vigilante. When he has a big problem because his children, his wife, were killed. Do you know who doesn't have a wife or kids? This guy, Kash Patel. Okay, so here we go. Kash Patel. This is a really crazy headline. This comes from Mother Jones, and I just didn't see it until today, so bad on me. We still don't know what Kash Patel did as a consultant for Qatar. In a curious twist during his confirmation process, not only did we find out, by the way, that he has up to $5 million in stock that is a controlling interest in this company Shein, which makes this Chinese knockoff programs, but it's owned by this Cayman Island subsidiary, as far as I can understand it. It's kind of convoluted. Kash Patel failed to disclose significant personal financial information until the Senate hearing on January when his nomination popped up to be FBI director. Consequently, one particular item listed on his financial disclosure has received no attention during that hearing. Yeah, why did it get any attention? That's why I didn't hear about it, I guess. Patel's work as a consultant for the Embassy of Qatar. On this document, Patel didn't say what he did for Qatar or how much he was paid. That's weird. He's just one of several top Trump administration aides who have had financial ties to this Arab monarchy. Susie Wiles, Trump's chief of staff, worked for a lobbying firm that represented Qatar. Attorney General Pam Bondi lobbied for the Qataris. Mike Huckabee, ambassador to Israel, paid $50,000 to visit Qatar in 2018. Steve Witkoff, special envoy to the Middle East, pocketed money from Qatar. He got the Qatari Sovereign Wealth Fund apparently bought the Park Lane Hotel for a $623 million deal. The Trump organization itself struck a deal to develop a luxury golf course in Qatar. Qatar is considering handing Trump a luxury jet. This is going back to May, the $400 million Air Force One jet they were going to replace. The plan is reportedly for a 747 to be transferred to his library, so it would leave with him and stay under his personal control after he leaves office. There have been very few public clues regarding the nature of Patel's ties to Qatar. His financial disclosure said he made more than $5,000 from the work, and that's it. It notes that he was paid through a company he owned called Trishul, Trishul. Feel free to look it up, which engaged in national security, defense, and intelligence consulting. On his form in 2024, he earned $2.1 million from this organization, which had a number of clients. Those clients include True Social or Trump Media. It also included Qatar. There were questions about it. And apparently somebody, The Atlantic reported that he claimed he worked as a security consultant for Qatar during the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Doha. And in February, ethics experts were questioning on whether or not his consulting for Qatar would have required him to register as a foreign agent under FARA. A source close to Patel confirmed to The Federalist that his work for Qatar was limited to securing the 2022 FIFA World Cup and other security measures, and so therefore the representation would not have required a FARA registration. But Patel himself hasn't said that he was involved in World Cup. He said nothing of the sort publicly about his business and his association with Qatar. And then the fun thing is that it says the Qatari Supreme Committee on Delivery and Legacy, which ran the 2022 World Cup bid, they had nothing to comment on it. And his paperwork for Qatar said that he was working and representing them on behalf of them until November of 2024. The World Cup was 2 years in the past. So what kind of money did he get from them? What kind of money did he get from the Chinese? What are we doing here, man? I mean, I blew it. I'm just telling you guys, I really blew it. I didn't know who this guy was. What I should have known was that he was this.
Hey guys, look at me. I'm a badass.
He's a badass. It's just really scary stuff that we're dealing with people that have significant amounts of money, a bunch of shady sort of interactions, and then they don't even know what the hell they're doing. They're finding secret subpoenas that were put in lockboxes and vaults in cyber places that can't be accessed. They are so woefully unfit for this job. At the end of the day, again, the Biden administration proved that the FBI can turn on a dime and do something. And our senators and our House of Representatives are going to prove to us that even though they're going to go out and cry about it, even if they're going to go out and act like something bad happened, every damn one of them is going to go out and fund this organization. I'm going to leave you with a thought from John Ratcliffe. There's a question here asking about names that are going to be declassified regarding Hunter Biden, Ukraine, and some involvement. So he's going to answer that to us right now. This is how you know no one gets prosecuted.
Well, since you asked, I will tell you. Joe Biden's son, Joe Biden's brother, Joe Biden's brother's wife, Hunter Biden's girlfriend or Beau Biden's widow, however you wanted to write that, Hunter Biden's ex-wife, Hunter Biden's current wife, and 3 children of the president's son and the president's brother. So we're talking about a grandchild. That's odd. Most people that work hard every day's grandchild doesn't get a wire from a foreign national or anything like that. So that'll conclude our questions.
That'll conclude the questions about it. That'll also conclude pretty much everything that it has to do with what's going on here. We will not see prosecutions of any of those people, despite the fact that many of you guys thought there was a problem there. Because we got an announcement. So that was it. That's all there was. That's all there was going to be. That's all we're going to get. Sorry. And then they're going to fund it. All right, so that was, sort of dark and dismal. Guys, if you're watching this program, make sure you're subscribed over here. We're going to continue to give you information that doesn't just go with anybody's narrative. We're not on the left. We're not on the right. We're like too far on the right, and we are post-partisan. Like us on YouTube, like us on Rumble, like us on X. I think we got kicked off X today for some reason. Make sure you guys are following us over on Spotify, KyleSerafinshow.com. Subscribe, give us a like on the videos, do the things. Leave us a comment. If there's something that you found and you're like, hey, I didn't know that. Or if there's something you're like, hey, you're wrong. Let me know that. If you think that I'm wrong about air traffic control, you're going to find out that I actually did go to air traffic control school, and you might have to check out your .65 and find out that that is the case. Or maybe the CFR Title 14. Figure out what pilots in command can do. Yeah, I recognize that a lot of you guys are out there saying things, and I recognize that some of you know more than me on some of these topics. So, correct me. Send me a cool comment. Let's end with something kind of fun. How about this? Just do it anyway. This is an Indian guy. I got no problem with this dude. He's saying things that are American. If things are hard, so what? Keep going.
Nobody cares about your feelings. But Papa, what if I'm tired? Do it anyway. What if I'm scared? Do it anyway. What if I'm stressed? Do it anyway. What if I'm anxious? Do it anyway. But what if I can't? You still gotta do it anyway. You still gotta do it, Shivansh. You got to understand. Separating your feelings from your actions is the most important superpower that you can always have. Please remember, losers follow feelings. Winners follow a plan. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard. And I know it sucks. But you got to decide what you want to be. Do you want to be the one who is giving excuses, or do you want to be a winner? Decide who the heck you are. A winner.
Yeah, that's it. Stop following your feelings, which is why Fox News is dead. Because they're playing at that. All right. God bless all of you. Look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Weird Wednesday here.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.